In this clip, we're going to learn about understanding alpha channels. So with an alpha channel, you have to keep in mind that there's three parts of your whole image. First, you have your background, and that's the image you'd like to put behind your subject. Next, you have the video. So in this video, we see the image data, but there's also an alpha channel that we're not viewing. And this is the alpha channel of our video. It's a black and white image, and we use it to cut the subject away from the rest of the image. Now, in this situation where you have a news reporter or a weatherman like this, usually he's going to be filmed on green screen. And even though we see a black background with him, you can have any color background behind him in that area. So right here, this could be green or red or really anything. And the alpha channel is simply what's used to pull that away. Now, the keying process is usually done with a green or blue screen. But in this case, we're just focusing on what it takes to have this alpha channel, cut him away from his background, and then create a union with the background. And once you add all that together, you get this. And you have your weatherman on top of the background, seamlessly being cut out. So now I've opened After Effects for us, and I want to show you how we can view different alpha channels for our layers. So right now we're viewing the RGB of our image. So that's typically what this is going to be set to by default. You can see the little RGB icon, and if I click this, it gives us the option to view other channels. So I can view just the red, just the green. And this may seem kind of confusing because it looks like a black and white image. So what is this telling us? Well, this is just saying this is what the green channel looks like. So because this is additive color mixing, RGB, everywhere that is white means that it gets a full dose of green, and anywhere that we see kind of a halfway color, kind of this halfway gray, means it's only getting some green coming through. And anywhere that's totally black, we don't have anywhere really totally black, but this one's pretty dark right here, means that's the least amount of green in the image. Now for the alpha, if I just click alpha, you're going to notice that it's totally white. And earlier when we were looking at the slides, I said that an alpha channel is going to look like a black and white image. Now it's not going to look so black and white a lot of times as what we were looking at before, where it just looks like the whole thing has been desaturated. We're looking for a hard cutout in this particular scenario. So why aren't we seeing that? Well, that's because we're looking at the entire image. So if I go back to RGB, we have all of these pixels over here. So I really only want to view the alpha channel for my weatherman. So what I need to do is come over here and not just select the layer for the weatherman, but I need to solo it so that it's the only one that we're looking at. And then when I come over here and choose alpha, you can see that we're able to actually view his alpha channel. And it's just as you'd expect. We get a fully white cutout on a black background. And that's what gives us the ability to knock that green screen background away. And then we've got a nice silhouetted weatherman on top of our project. Now, right now it's not on top of the project because I do still have it soloed. So once I uncheck that solo, we're able to see everything else. Now, what other kinds of layers might have an alpha channel involved in them? Let's take a look at maybe this little sunshine icon. So when I double click that comp, it takes me in here. And let's just see what happens if I click the alpha now. So this is pretty interesting. We see before when we were in our main comp that this little sunshine icon was on a transparent background. So really, anytime you have like an icon from Illustrator or something that you bring in and it's on a transparent background, there's actually an alpha channel there creating that for you. But Adobe just does a great job of managing it where you're not having to juggle it and figure out how do we pre-multiply this. It's already pretty much always taken care of for you if you're just bringing in some Illustrator layers. So if I come back in here, you can see that everywhere that we had the color is white now because we're just looking at the alpha for that sunshine. So I'll just come back over here and turn back on my RGB. And we'll move back out to the main composition. So that's a quick look at how After Effects allows you to look at the different channels, especially the alpha channel of your layers, and how After Effects also manages your alpha channels for you on things like Illustrator, icons, or even typography. Pretty much everything has an alpha channel. It's just not something we have to think about as often until we're dealing with something like a green screen image, or as we'll learn in some of the later lessons when we start getting into opacity and masking and blend modes and all kinds of really fun things like track mats. This whole course is going to be diving into these types of transparency and blending options in After Effects. And alpha channel is just the most basic of those mentioned. So let's go ahead and jump into our next clip where we are going to start learning about opacity and masking.